with the wrong tax and the wrong regulatory policies, and you're has in her long career that three things that have impacted the American people's lives directly for the better. And that's a very specific question.
Well, it's a very specific question. I don't have a specific answer for you, unfortunately. But what I
all
can,
those years in the
right,
public eye, right?
Right. I mean, you know, she's done some great things. I don't want to take away from what she's done. My concern is, what is she going to do moving forward? The speech tonight was more of an eHarmony dating commercial, opposed to actually talking about how are we going to move forward with economics. So we got the emotion, we got the eHarmony, but we didn't focus on how we're going to move forward economically. And that's my major concern with African.
No, and I brought this up. There's a 54%, since your buddy President Obama became president, 54% increase in black Americans on food stamps. You have a 20% increase of black Americans out of the labor force. And let me guess. Hang on.
You of this confusion?
Hang on. And I'm going to guess 8 years into the Obama presidency, you're going to go back and blame George W. Bush, aren't you?
I'm not.
That's what
I'm going to tell you two things. The first is, let us remember down and then up. So it was going down, and in the last 6 years, all of those things have improved. And you're comparing.
And here what we got. We got 58%. We got 14 million more Americans on food stamps in poverty.
All of which have improved
and the lowest,
in the last 6 years.
Excuse me. The lowest labor participation rate since the 1970s. Anthony.
It doesn't, but Professor, with all due respect, it doesn't explain the languishing activity in the jobs market. It doesn't explain the lack of disposable income. It doesn't explain the fact that middle-class wages are been stagnant. I mean, literally, they're only up about 2.7% in the last 10 years. And so with the wrong tax and the wrong regulatory policies, and you're overburdening the economy. You know, and I know, you can go to any think tank, 27% of the entire GDP being spent by the federal government is like an octopus strangling the economy.
Here's a question I have for you. So Obama was running in 2009, and he said, $9 trillion... W. Bush, aren't you? Stamps. You have a 20% increase of black Americans out of the labor force. And let me guess. Hang on.
You of this confusion?
Hang on. And I'm going to guess 8 years into the Obama presidency, you're going to go back and blame George W. Bush, aren't you?
I'm not.
That's what
I'm going to tell you two things. The first is, let us remember down and then up. So it was going down, and in the last 6 years, all of those things have improved. And you're comparing.
And here what we got. We got 58%. We got 14 million more Americans on food stamps in poverty.
All of which have improved in the last 6 years.
Excuse me. The lowest labor participation rate since the 1970s. Anthony.
It doesn't, but Professor, with all due respect, it doesn't explain the languishing activity in the jobs market. It doesn't explain the lack of disposable income. It doesn't explain the fact that middle-class wages are been stagnant. I mean, literally, they're only up about 2.7% in the last 10 years. And so with the wrong tax and the wrong regulatory policies, and you're overburdening the economy. You know, and I know, you can go to any think tank, 27% of the entire GDP being spent by the federal government is like an octopus strangling the economy.
Here's a question I have for you. So Obama was running in 2009, and he said, $9 trillion in debt, that's irresponsible. That's unpatriotic. Now, here's the question.
In a boom.
He never said in a boom. Don't add words he didn't use. He didn't say that. He said, $9 trillion in debt. We're taking a credit card to the Bank of China in the name of our kids, and, you know, we've got to pay that back. That's irresponsible. So he will accumulate, by the time he leaves, after 8 years, more debt than every single solitary president of the United States before him combined. What does that say about your economic
Look,
huh?
we can go through the Obama record if you like.
Doubling of the debt.
You have been confused for a long time,
Well,
and I can
wait,
unconfuse you.
Will he
It
or will
take
he,
time.
Anthony? Will he or will he not accumulate more debt than every other president before him combined?
He will. I want you to be a little nicer to him, though, because I'm trying to get him as a guest on Wall Street.
He's a nice guy. I've been out to dinner with his wife. I have no idea why she married this guy.
Not the correct question. The correct question
He's
is,
just wrong on policy.
are
Exactly.
you going to feel comfortable with a man like Donald Trump
Yes,
saying
a guy that
things
that
that
guy that
even
became a billionaire.
Republican
Yeah,
economists believe would send us into
Anthony
immediate
Scaramucci,
recession?
Larry Kudlow.
Send us into
But that's
immediate
not the case.
recession.
It's not the case. You see what
That's
happens?
what the
He says a couple of
Republicans say.
things that hit a nerve with you guys. You get all flipped out. It is totally not the case. Okay. In fact, if anything, and Donald said this over the week, Mr. Trump said this over the weekend, she's going to start incorporating some of his economic ideas.
I assure you, she's not.
100% she will.
Look, if it walks like a duck,
PPP.
it's probably a duck.
Oh, hang on.
If it sounds like a quack, it's coming straight from
If
the
it walks
duck.
like a duck, so if the debt is doubled, then that means Obama did it.
He's going
Then
to
Tesla-
why would you
he
propose
accumulated
a
more debt.
$12 trillion
accumulated
tax?
more
One of
debt.
the greatest things the president
Why?
can do is inspire confidence, Sean.
Tesla,
And
let me
from the
get to
bully
Tesla.
pulpit, he's going to be there doing it.
So he's accumulated more debt than every other president before him combined. If you look at those disproportionately negatively impacted by the Obama economic policies, it's minority Americans, a lot of whom voted for him. And if you look at, the percentages of people and the millions more in poverty, food stamps, and out of the labor force, he thinks it's Bush's fault.
Well,
She's
it's certainly a lot have voted for him, and when you talk about African Americans, over 70% has given
like
their
90%.
support, right, to this president. It's not just the poverty. When we look at healthcare disparities, like I was telling you in the last hour, more black women died of cancer than women who are diagnosed. More women have HIV.
Obamacare didn't save them.
It did not say.
Keep
It did
your
not,
doctor.
no.
Keep your
No, it
keep
did
your
not.
plan.
It did not. And to
Save
be honest,
money.
with you, while I was working on this campaign, I lost my mother to cancer.
Oh.
So it's a very
Right. I'm
close.
sorry. I lost my mom a long
Yeah,
time ago.
right, and so
Painful.
it was so very painful. And when you look at the fact that she didn't want to go to the doctor because of having health care insurance, but not wanting to go because of the rising costs, me shutting down my business because of health care reform, it's not fixed. We're a long way to go. When you look at black men in prison, more now than those who were enslaved in 1850, it's not the same. Alicia Keys can sing all day that we have something in common, but at the end of the day, we do not have things in common when it comes to black women being paid less than white women across the board. The economic policies have failed African Americans within all across the United
Tavis
States.
Smiley agrees
That's
with you.
just a fact.
Cornell West agrees with you. Here's a question I have. So your buddy Obama, you're friends with him, right? Talked to
I
him
am.
recently?
It's relatively
Really?
recent.
Did you tell him I said hi?
I did.
Does he ever see you on the show?
I don't know that he watches the show.
All right. But he did promise certain things. You know what? I feel sorry. Tesla, I lost my mom and dad years ago. Sorry you lost your mom. He promised that you keep your doctor, you keep your plan, and the average family per year is going to save $2,400. I've got the tape, by the way. And what happened? People lost their doctors, they lost their plans, and they're paying 40 to 50% increases a year.
More than 20 million more people got insurance. We've had the
No.
lowest rate of healthcare cost inflation in 50 years.
Why do you divert from my question?
I'm not.
What was his promise? Keep your doctor, keep your plan, pay less. Did that happen, Anthony?
It did, but you need to do an undercover boss, okay? You need to come out into Long Island where Sean and I live and go to each small business and say, hey, is this working for you?
They'll throw me out of there.
Okay.
They
will, because they'll say, hey, you know
First
what,
I'll
this
have
is not
Sean
working.
doing his brown belt, black
Oh,
belt thing
So
on
we
me.
love you.
and then-
We'll even get you some great Italian food out there. But let me tell you something. You go business by business, they'll say, this has been a disaster.
Well, all right. I feel I've been a little unfair to you in a second. Go ahead. I'll give you the chance
this
to
segment.
say, in the 8th year of Obama and the economy sucks, tell us why you think
No,
it's great.
look, the last 6 years, things have gotten substantially better. And the question for us today is, if you're looking at the next 8 years or the next 4 years, if you so dislike deficits, why are you supporting a guy who's got a $12 trillion tax cut? The
Okay.
biggest tax cut of all
But
time.
Reagan doubled revenues by giving
This
us,
tax
wait a minute, by
is
dropping the
way
top
bigger.
marginal rates from 70 to 28% during his presidency.
But it hasn't gotten better for African Americans. So I would like to know, how has it gotten better for African Americans and people of color over the last 8 years?
In the last 6 years, the first 2 years of the Obama administration, we come in losing 800,000 jobs a month in the worst recession of our lifetimes. when that recession ends, which he did not cause, we spend 6 years improving. Poverty among African Americans has fallen for the last 5 years. The poverty rate rose more under Ronald Reagan than it has under Barack Obama. You never want to say that.
President.
You never want to admit that.
The first president in the history of the country that will never hit a year of 3% GDP growth. The first president ever.
Yes, and
yes, so you're right, Mr. Hannity.
I said you are right about that,
My
Mr.
question
Hannity.
about unemployment, though, specifically unemployment, about African Americans being more unemployed now than what they were in the beginning.
In the beginning, you're counting the beginning of the recession.
I'm counting the
In
beginning.
the last 6 years, the unemployment rate has improved dramatically.
Not for African Americans.
Yes,
That's right.
African Americans.
It has not.
The last 6 years, yes, it
All
has.
right,
We're going to see what happens in the
thank you all for being with us. Now, Democrats are under fire after yesterday. Not one of the 61 DNC speakers even mentioned ISIS. Now, there were 5 mentions today by 4 speakers. Wow, I think they were embarrassed into doing it. And earlier tonight, Vice President Crazy Uncle Joe Biden laughed off the criticism that liberals are facing for not talking about terrorism. By the way, you heard about the priest in France earlier today, or I believe it was France, yes. Take a look.
Mike Pence, this morning at the VFW. It is extraordinary to think that yesterday in Philadelphia, 61 speakers came to the podium, and not one of them named ISIS by name. This man, Donald Trump, will name our enemies without apology, and he will defeat them.
I think it's a defeat. We have the single most significant homeland security of any country in the world. We have the finest special forces in the world. And what are they doing, Pence and Trump? What they're doing is they're breaking up our alliances. These guys don't know what they're talking about.
But are they right when they say 61 speakers last night, no mention of ISIS? PolitiFact says that's true.
Well, that could be, but I mean, there's a lot more speakers to come.
Can you talk about that?
There's a lot more speakers to come.
Here with reaction, Fox News contributor Monica Crowley and also Fox News contributor Doug Schoen is going to join us in a second.